right, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're coming at you with our week 8 preview, predictions, fantasy football slash betting plays for every single game of week 8. A very exciting slate. Obviously, we've got this game, the Bears and Commanders, Caleb Williams versus possibly Jaden Daniels. Hopefully, Jaden Daniels. It could very well be Marcus Mariota, and it makes it a little bit less exciting, but we'll get into it. That's our Seekers game of the week this week. Recording this a day late. The Rams and Vikings game just happened. I did end up picking the Rams because I just had a feeling in the Kevin O'Connell revenge game, Sean McVay used to be his boss. I just had a feeling that he would kind of have his number. So that played out well for me. We're tied in picks now, so it's all even going into week 8. Excited about it. How are you, Josh?
Doing good. Did just watch that game. It was kind of, controversial call at the end. Not very controversial. It was a face mask that was blatantly missed by the refs. And I'll say it, Dan. I'll say it right now. I am sick and tired of refs determining the outcomes of games. I wanna make a petition that you can challenge penalties or non-penalty calls within the final 5 minutes of a game. I think that would just make the overall game so much better because within the final 5 minutes, there is always something that the refs are missing or some cheese that they're calling. And if NFL teams even, or players even, contradict or, in their press conferences talk about it, they get fined, which is just crazy to me. Meanwhile, the refs, just kind of get to go and hide and make their calls. I don't know, man. I'm sick and tired of it. Is that something? Am I on the right page with you? I think there should be a little bit of accountability for refs, and I think there should be a challenge flag with the technology we have. Why can't you challenge a flag?
I think it will head in that direction. We see it in baseball and basketball. They're doing a really good job of starting to implement pretty much every foul being able to be reviewed and usually gets overturned pretty quickly. So hopefully the NFL implements that, soon. You would think so, being the most big money organization in all of America. You would think that they would have the best rules and you know everything enforced. So hopefully soon, hopefully next year they really hone in on that because yeah, missed penalty calls and just especially 2 minutes left in the game definitely needs to be enforced. But anything else you want to say on that?
No, sorry for my rant right there, Seekers Nation. I'm obviously a little still salty from Monday's wounds, Chargers versus Cardinals. So just need to, just need to get some stuff off my chest, but ready to get into week 8, ready to move forward. Past last week is brutal for fantasy, is brutal for my Chargers. So I'm looking forward to week 8 and looking forward to a comeback.
All right, here's to hoping that week 8 is a little bit more positive, especially for stores. We'll go in to the first game, the first of the Sunday 1 p.m. slate games. The 4-2 Philadelphia Eagles are going to go into Cincinnati and play the 3-4 Bengals, who are 2.5 point home favorites in this one. The Bengals are going to be in their beautiful all white uniforms. Should be a really fun game. I expect this one to be really high scoring. I wouldn't start any of these defenses in fantasy. I think I would definitely take all the overs and start all of these stars in this game, though. Obviously, you got a lot of superstar talent on the Eagles, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon Barkley coming off a legacy game. And then on the other side, you've got obviously T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. You got a lot of stars in this game with Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts as well. So really, really fun, exciting offensive firework game. Getting my pick right out of the way, though, I am going to pick the Eagles in this one. I'm not too confident on it. I could totally see the Bengals winning, especially just the way that this offense, is on paper. It's an incredible offense. I think it can be a top 5 offense. Burrow's playing beautiful football. But my thing is they haven't really impressed me the last 2 weeks against the Browns and Giants, which is my kind of reason I'm not picking them. Is that they're definitely a nice team offensively on paper, but they haven't really scored much the last 2 weeks against two pretty mediocre teams. That makes me want to pick the Eagles, who just really took care of business against the Giants. They don't have the best coaching, but the superstar talent on this team just comes through. I think the defense is a little bit better than the Bengals defense. So give me the Eagles in this one and kind of a coin flip game.
You know, Dan, I really didn't expect you to pick the Eagles in this, but I'm right there with you, man. Let's go for the dogs in this one. Give us the dogs to beat the Bengals, and like you said it perfectly. I'm just a little bit more comfortable in this Eagles team getting hot right now. AJ Brown's back, Devonta Smith is back, Saquon's playing incredible. I know their secondary is scarce, But I think they can put up a shootout, and I just overall I feel like their running game, they're going to control the line of scrimmage on offense and just be able to control the game flow a little bit better than the Bengals can. I feel like, if you're the Bengals, you're just, you're banking on that Jamar Chase 70-yard touchdown, or that T Higgins big play. You're just banking on big plays. And I mean, the offense is doing good and, doing it at a great rate of producing big plays. However, I think the Eagles are just evenly matched and can match that and are just a little bit better of a roster and have played more impressive. And I just think, this one will be, determined by the line of scrimmage. And I just trust Saquon Barkley and that Eagles O line to just really control it.
Yeah, no Jordan Mailata really hurts this team, but I mean, they didn't have him last week and they played very, very well against a good Giants defensive line. I do expect the Eagles to really come through and this offense is fireworks. AJ Brown brings a whole new deep threat element, a vertical element to this team. Going into fantasy, we really don't need to talk about fantasy because you're starting the stars and there's no borderline options. You're starting T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Chase Brown. You're benching Zach Moss, obviously starting Joe Burrow for the Eagles, starting AJ Brown, starting Devonta Smith, starting Saquon Barkley, starting Jalen Hurts, and you're not starting anyone else. Like it's very cut and dry, very simple. No borderline options for either of these teams here.
Yeah, should be pretty fun and exciting though. And I expect this to be a shootout. Jamar Chase is going to break one against this weak Eagles secondary. And so I expect a high scoring game out of this one. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, hopefully we get a long downfield Jamar Chase, maybe T. Higgins touchdown, and hopefully for the third week in a row we get a long downfield AJ Brown touchdown. Take the overs on all these superstars in this game. A really fun matchup. Let's go on to the next one. The 4-3 Atlanta Falcons are going to go into Tampa Bay, play the 4-3 Buccaneers. The Falcons are 2.5 point favorites in this NFC South showdown. We've got Baker Mayfield versus Kirk Cousins, both playing some super, super hot football. But sadly, a little bit of a down note. No Chris Godwin for the rest of the season for the Buccaneers. No Mike Evans in this game for the next month. So it's going to be a hit for this Buccaneers offense. It's going to be kind of a smorgasbord of receivers out there. Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard, Trey Palmer, and Kate Otten will be the main core for Baker Mayfield. So I definitely will have to take the Falcons in this one just because I mean the Bucs are going to be wearing their creamsicles. They're a great team. Baker's playing some incredible football, so I could totally see them winning. But it's just those injuries, man, those two superstar receivers. I just think that they're going to have a little bit of a learning curve without their two star receivers. I could see them starting pretty slow here and, trying to figure out how to cope without their two best weapons, really. So I expect a good game from Rashad White. No Bucky Irving in this one. So it should be just the Rashad White and that smorgasbord of receivers show against this Falcons defense, who hasn't been great. This could be another shootout as well. But give me the Falcons. I think their defense is a little bit better. I think obviously all the stars, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Kirk Cousins. I definitely think the Falcons will win this divisional matchup and go to 5-3 and take first in the division.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I picked the Falcons to beat the Bucks, a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna pick them again to beat the Buccaneers, who, yeah, now are definitely depleted at the wide receiver position. And I'm just gonna say it too. Another thing that just irritates me at the end of football games is when your team is down and out of it. Like I get you want to look good, I get you want to be competitive, and you want to make it look more competitive. But when stuff like this happens, I do question the coaching. I question Todd Bowles, and in his interview, he's just like he's a football player. He wants to go out there and he wants to win the game. Well, you're not going to win the game. You're down multiple scores with very little time on the clock, and with 40 seconds on the clock, and there's just literally no way you can win. I don't know why you have your superstars out there. It gives me horror nightmares of when the Chargers made the playoffs back in 2021, and they go into week 18 and Brandon Staley decides to play all the starters and Mike Williams ends up getting hurt against your Broncos week 18 in a meaningless football game which had no implications on seeding or anything. But he went out there, he played his starters, one of them got hurt. Ultimately, that could have been the difference of them winning and losing in the playoffs versus Jacksonville. So I'm not okay with it. I think that's criminal. I think, I don't understand it. I get that these players are players and they want to play, but at a certain point when you're losing the game and you risk injury, it's just ridiculous, especially when you're fatigued late in the game, trying really hard to catch up. I think it's criminal.
Yeah, thank you, Todd Bowles. Thank you for, kind of mismanaging, obviously, Mike Evans, putting him out there when he clearly was not ready, and just completely mismanaging the hell out of Chris Godwin there. That was just terrible, terrible stuff. Incompetent stuff. Incompetent coaches like to do stuff like that. They try to act like they're, tough, Dan Campbell type of coaches. But yeah, just a bad move. Take the L, keep your season alive. And now it's kind of looking like it's gonna die down once you lose to this Falcons team in a big divisional matchup. That's that record that's kind of possible that it goes below 500 here in the next few weeks. So very, very unfortunate. They're going into fantasy with those implications with that injury. I do think you can start Jalen McMillan and Kate Otten. I'm not touching any of the other receiving options though for the Bucks. And then Rashad White is a great play just because there's no Bucky Irving. If you want to throw a dart at um, Tucker, you can, but I think it's just going to be those three players. I do have a question though, asking for a friend. Cade Otton or Jalen McMillan, if you have to start one in the slot. Right now, I am starting Cade Otton over McMillan, but I think it's kind of close. I don't know.
Oh, I'm 100% starting Cade Otton, over Jalen McMillan. Cade Otton, obviously saw a very good increased role. He's got better chemistry with Baker Mayfield. He's more of that safety net. So I'm feeling a lot more confident in Cade Otton. However, I think Jalen McMillan could be a good play as well. I think he's a good field stretcher. I like what he did at Washington. I think he can be a good, kind of reception guy. I think he finds that soft spot of the zone. I thought he did really well at Washington. So I like the play. But this week, if I'm choosing one over the other, I'm definitely leading Kate on.
All right, yeah, I think I agree with you. I'm probably going to ride with Otton in the flex. So, hopefully that helps someone else out there with that decision. Baker Mayfield, I'm very scared about. Obviously, he's been one of the best fantasy quarterbacks. I would definitely try to sell him high if I could. I don't think I'm starting him. I think it's a little bit bold. It's a good matchup, but I don't really think I'm starting Baker Mayfield. There's got to be better streaming options out there. For the Falcons, you're starting all the stars, Mooney, Bijan, you're starting Drake London. You could throw a dart. I'd probably rather start Kirk over Baker Mayfield just because of the weapons, and Kirk's probably on your waiver wire. So yeah, that's kind of where I am at with the quarterbacks. Wouldn't start Tyler Algier here. He's just a nice premium handcuff. Anything else you want to say in this game?
No, I'm gonna start a rant session. We better move on to the next one.
Yeah, we'll yap about Todd Bowles and the coaching decisions and then garbage time forever. But going on to the next game, the 4-3 Indianapolis Colts are going to go into Houston, play the 5-2 Texans in an AFC South matchup. The Texans are 5-point home favorites in this one. The Texans offense is struggling a little bit with Nico Collins. I honestly do think this will be a pretty close, low scoring game, maybe more low scoring than you'd expect for a Texans football game. These Colts Texans games really are always down to the wire. At the end of the season last year, even with Gardner Minshew out there, this week 18, it was a big game for playoff implications, and it was just right down to the wire. These are good matchups usually. But all that being said, give me the Texans in a pretty close matchup. I don't even know if they cover that spread, but I just cannot pick Anthony Richardson the way he's been playing to win a football game over CJ Stroud. I may have gone with the upset if it was Flacco, because we all know that makes the Colts a better football team right now. But give me the Texans in this one. I do think CJ Stroud will prevail even without Nico Collins. Obviously, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs have been playing great, and Joe Mixon has been playing fantastic against this Colts defense. It's just been really soft. They might get DeForest Buckner back, but I still just think Joe Mixon absolutely eats in this one and kind of wins it by himself.
Yeah, this is another one I could definitely go on a long rant sesh about. I could definitely give my opinions on Anthony Richardson and the head coach and Shane Steichen, deciding to go with him. However, I will stop myself from absolutely slandering Anthony Richardson, as enough people have already slandered him. But yeah, with that being said, I'm definitely not taking the Colts, man, with him playing. I mean, obviously, week one, it was pretty competitive. It was a good game. Anthony Richardson had a hell of a throw. That was a highlight reel type of throw. But I feel like the league has already started to figure Anthony Richardson out. So I feel like, teams have his number. I feel like they know how to play against him. And then, this Texans team is good. Obviously, they're coming off of a little bit of a stinker. CJ Stroud only throwing for 85 yards against the Green Bay Packers last week. Obviously, no Nico Collins does affect the outcome of this game, too. But I think they are the better coached. I think they're the more well-rounded team. And I do expect them Honestly, like I said a few games ago, control the line of scrimmage. I think Joe Mixon, he's rejuvenated, he's rejoiced. He looks like a different Joe Mixon from the Bengals. I mean, he looks substantially faster, which is just crazy. His cuts, his move, his lateral movement is so much better. He's a completely different running back, at this age in his career, and it's fun to watch. So yeah, obviously a smash play every single week. I think every week he's played a full game. He's a top three fantasy running back. So, if you can still somehow go buy Joe Mixon, if he's at a little bit lower value, I think he's going to finish as a top five running back this year.
Yeah, I mean, their whole game plan last week was Joe Mixon, Joe Mixon, Joe Mixon. I think it'll be the exact same this week, and I think he'll deliver a win for this team by himself. Joe Mixon versus the Colts. Give me Joe Mixon going into fantasy. Obviously, you're starting Joe Mixon, you're starting Stephon Diggs, you're starting Tank Dell. I don't know, actually. Tank Dell is coming off a big, big stinker, a goose egg in a game with no Nico Collins. You don't have to start Tank Dell. I will say that. If you have good options, I would actually pivot away from him, especially in this matchup. I could just see them running the ball every single play, honestly, because they don't really need to throw it downfield. So I'm really just excited about Diggs and Mixon in this one. Not even really excited about Stroud, to be completely honest. If you have a better option, I wouldn't mind benching him this week until you get Nico Collins back. Obviously, then he's a must start. Going on to the Colts, though, tell me if I'm just tripping. Tell me if I'm biased against Anthony Richardson, but I think I have one start for the Colts, and it's Jonathan Taylor. Would you agree? Are you starting one of these receivers, or how do you feel?
I mean, Michael Pittman last week, 9.3, a little bit of a stinker. Josh Downs last week, 1.3 fantasy points. I mean, Alec Pierce seems to be, Anthony Richardson's favorite target. I mean, week one, he only had three receptions, but he had that long 100, he had 125 yards. He had that long touchdown and that one long touchdown, 125 yards. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think I'm feeling confident in anyone but Jonathan Taylor. I think Anthony Richardson doesn't, he can't complete passes at a at a stable rate. He's not accurate. What was it against Houston? Did he only complete nine passes
Yep.
in that first game? So
Yep.
I don't expect him to complete more than 12 passes. And for all these fantasy wide receivers, it pretty much just makes them irrelevant, which is absolutely heartbreaking because I am a Josh Downs owner, and I was coming off of some pretty high highs with Joe Flacco. And we're talking 15 plus points a week from Josh Downs in a PPR platform, and just looked awesome. Michael Pittman was starting to pick it up. But yeah, I think with Anthony Richardson under center, none of these wide receivers are actually startable. I'd bench everyone but Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I feel like as a Josh Downs owner, it just feels like he tore his hammy with obviously Flacco going out. That's kind of how it feels until Flacco goes back in. It's pretty crazy stuff with Anthony Richardson, the way he plays, the way he just doesn't target these guys in the intermediate game. He loves to look to run and truck someone downfield, injure his shoulder. It's crazy his play style. But yeah, I think we went over fantasy pretty well. Anything else you want to say on this game?
Just want to say, I'm kind of, I even asking for myself, I'm still trying to decide from a point like I feel like I have to hold on to Josh Downs, just in hopes of Anthony Richardson getting hurt or benched. So I still think there's hope for these receivers. Obviously right now they're such you can't sell them. You can't go out there and trade them from a fantasy aspect. I've already tried it. I think you just have to hold on to them and just hope for better days with Joe Flacco.
In a 12-team league, I'm not dropping Josh Downs. Maybe in a 10-team league with a stacked waiver wire, you can consider dropping Josh Downs, but you got to hold on to him until, just in hopes that maybe Anthony gets benched. I mean, I would not have been surprised if Anthony got benched last week. I totally was kind of expecting it, honestly. So, with that being said, let's go on to the next game. The 3-4 Arizona Cardinals are going to go into Miami, play the 2-4 Dolphins, who are 3.5 point home favorites this week. Home favorites for the Dolphins. Finally, they're favored in a game because this man, Tua Tagovailoa, is back. Finally, so big for fantasy. You obviously, it feels like you're getting Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle all back from injury as well. It's just a sense of cool, a sense of just relief. All of Miami, you can tell Tyreek Hill's excited. He gets those deep shots back. I'm playing him in fantasy this week, so I just know he's going to go off for 30 and this Tua return. So, I'm very excited for the Dolphins this week. I'll get my pick out of the way. I am going to pick the Dolphins. I haven't been too impressed with the Cardinals. Just something isn't clicking on that offense. Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray just aren't clicking. That offense just feels so so bad. The play calling's pretty terrible. It just scares me. The defense is soft. Like I expect this Dolphins offense to just shred through this Cardinals defense, just slice through them like butter. And so I'm gonna pick the Dolphins. I think they have a really, really nice bounce back game with Tua, and I don't think there's much more to be said. I don't think the Cardinals can really keep up with them in the return of Tua at home. Give me the Dolphins here.
Yeah, this one was kind of actually a little bit more tough, obviously, because I watched the Cardinals play the Chargers this last Monday, and they played a little bit more impressive than I thought, but not at the same time. This passing offense with Kyler just kind of seems anemic in the passing offense. He just doesn't feel like he can really get any of these receivers going. And real quick before I lose thought of it, as a Marvin Harrison Jr. owner. What do you do with him from a fantasy aspect? Like I'm obviously in this spot. At this point, I think I just have to hold on to Marvin Harrison Jr. I think it's kind of reckless to go out and try and trade him in a fantasy league because you're just not going to get the value and I mean, I think if you're an owner, you're holding on to that sliver of hope, that he can, get back to those 3 weeks where he had three straight touchdowns and that Rams game where he had 130 yards and three touchdowns in the half. So, I mean, what do you make of Marvin Harrison Jr.? Do you think him and Kyler Murray get back on track, or you think his season's just kind of this is what it is?
Yeah, it's really tough because, like you said, we saw it in that one Rams game. We've seen it, but I mean, I have him in a lot of leagues, and it's really screwing me over. Like, I mean, obviously, if you're in a 12-team league, you're kind of just forced to start him because of just where you drafted him and the hope, the prayer that he can find a connection and get into the end zone with Kyler. I will say I have him in two 10-team leagues, and I'm benching him in both of those leagues. I mean, we're starting J.K. Dobbins over him in our co-manager league, I think. I mean, I don't think we can start him in our pretty stacked team. It's just too risky to get like a 3-point performance or whatever he's capable of. It scares me. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade him. I definitely wouldn't sell him low. I mean, if you sell him like somewhat high because of the name value, if you can package him with someone and get someone that you're more confident that has a higher floor, that's not a bad option. But I mean, it is scary. I mean, you got to start him in 12-team leagues and you got to just hope that he finds the end zone really and hope that he gains the connection. Hopefully, Kyler doesn't look to run as much. But I mean, this offense does have more success when Kyler runs. So I don't know. It's tough. It's just kind of tough, man. I don't
It
know.
is. It's frustrating, and yeah, me and you both have a lot of stock, and we know what this guy's capable of. I mean, we saw him; he's the greatest wide receiver coming out of college ever, and we just expect a little bit more. I mean, like you said, he's playing this crazy wide receiver role, which is like almost impossible for a rookie. The routes and the concepts they have him running and the usage just makes no sense. It's like this guy could be, a merchant over the field. It's just like use him like you would, you just need to target this guy 15 times a game because he can take over a game. But I don't know. The Cardinals offense is just kind of weird and anemic. I'm frustrated by it. But
They need to
however,
watch the Falcons and use him like Drake London because he's like that same build. They need to throw slants to him. They need to get him involved closer to the line of scrimmage than just pure deep shots.
yeah, and he's got a great release off the line of scrimmage. Like he gets open fast and he's got such a big body. It's just like, yeah, it's like they use him in these crazy, crazy ways. It's just like, I don't know. Obviously, I think, I think Marvin Harrison Jr.'s gotten in his head a little bit too. I feel like there was, in the Chargers game last week, I feel like there were some pretty bad drops that he had. I feel like, a few of his, I think there's two or three like pretty bad drops. And I
Hmm.
think it's just his confidence with Kyler Murray. I don't know. Those guys need to go run some extra routes after practice, is what I'm trying to say. They need to get on the same page. They are not on the same page right now. So for that reason, give me the Dolphins. Give me, Tyreek Hill is going to go crazy. I can just feel it. He's going to torch this Cardinals secondary. Jalen Waddle should have a big game. I think the Dolphins will throw for 400 yards, and I think you see all their big time playmakers. Rejuvenated and rejoiced with Tua back in this offense. And I hate to say the guy with the noodle arm is the reason this offense can function. He's not going to be the reason the offense can function come playoffs, but he's on time. He can get the wide open passes to Tyreek Hill. They seem to be able to scheme it up with Tua for some reason.
Yeah, at home, at the Hard Rock, and the nice conditions. It might rain a little bit in this game, actually, but I'm not worried about it. I do think they have a very very smooth game. Hopefully they feed Achan. Going into fantasy, the two games that Tua's played in, Achan has 7 catches in each of those games. Hopefully they keep that going. Hopefully he gets those goal line carries. Mostert could even be a nice, flex dart throw in a deep league. Honestly, I just really want to target this game, target this Dolphins offense, especially starting Waddle, Tyreek Hill, obviously. Jonnu Smith could be a dart throw. I'm just really excited about this team against this Cardinals defense that has not been impressive for the Cardinals. You're starting Kyler, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler and Marvin are a little bit scarier of starts, but obviously Kyler with the rushing, you're totally fine starting him. And then Marvin, you're just praying that he gets into the end zone. They're going to have to be throwing a lot in this matchup. So it is a good matchup for Marvin, unless Jalen Ramsey's just shadowing him, which that's a whole nother thing I haven't even thought about that scares the hell out of me. So yeah, I think that's the only three that I'm interested in starting for the Cardinals. And then for the Dolphins, you're just targeting everyone, take their overs. It's going to be fireworks.
Yeah, 100%. Should be a pretty fun game. Obviously, the Cardinals coming off of a big win, Dolphins coming off of a big loss, looking to get back at it. Should be a pretty fun game.
Absolutely. Let's go on to the next game. The 2-5 New York Jets are going to go into New England, play the 1-6 Patriots. Jets are 7-point road favorites in this one. Davante Adams has a game under his belt with Aaron Rodgers in this Jets offense. Hopefully they can get clicking better. Definitely let me down picking them to beat the Steelers last week, and they looked embarrassing, honestly. They got outraced with by Russell Wilson and the Steelers. Their offense just went off against this Jets defense, who's definitely looked a little bit underwhelming since Salah's left. That being said, I love Drake May. I absolutely love Drake May. Picked him to win last week. That's probably why I'm not gonna even bother picking him this week. Give me the Jets in this one. I gotta just, go with the Jets. They're probably a lock to win this game. They gotta bounce back. They need to win. I mean, last week they needed to win, but they really, really need to win now. Hopefully, Davante Adams has a little bit more work. It felt like he was kind of a decoy last week. So I see Davante Adams, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson having pretty good games here. Hopefully, Aaron Rodgers is not just a doofus, and hopefully he's not playing injured because he looks pretty injured. And hopefully the Jets defense tightens up. But I do expect Drake May to have a pretty fun game and sling it out there. So give me the Jets in a pretty, exciting, closer than you would think game.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head with that. I think it is going to be closer than you think. I feel like Drake May can come out here and actually, compete. This Jets defense has proven to be vulnerable. And I think Drake May, I think it might be a little bit reckless at times, but he's gonna sling the ball down the field fearlessly, and he's gonna get these receivers who aren't incredible receivers, but Pop Douglas, I think he could have a big game in this. Just gonna throw that out there. But yeah, however, I'm hyping up the Patriots right now. I am picking the Jets in this one. It is kind of a make or break. I think the season explodes and implodes right here if you don't win it. I think this, like you said, is a must-win game. There's no possible outcome where you can't win this game. So lives are on the lines for the Jets, jobs are on the lines. Aaron Rodgers just might retire, after this game if they lose. So I wouldn't mind it personally. But, I will pick them to win this game. I think Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers get on the same page. I think they'll go out there and put up some points. But Drake May, man, I think in deeper leagues, I think he's worth a pickup. He's slinging the rock. He's scoring fantasy points. Pop Douglas, Hunter Henry, just guys to consider, getting on your roster, in these deeper leagues because these guys can pop off. And Drake May behind the wheel, man, he's not going to be afraid to throw that ball.
Yeah, you said it well. Going into fantasy, Drake May really helps this team fantasy wise. Obviously, you could play Drake May, especially in a super flex league. I think he's a fun option. He's definitely going to get a few touchdowns every week with that gunslinger mentality. I think Demario Douglas is just a good flex, really rest of season with that chemistry he has with Drake May. Hopefully, he doesn't leave the game sick after 2 snaps, but Hunter Henry, you stated as well. I think he's a good start. I just think this offense is a good one to target with the way Drake May plays. Ramondre Stevenson's kind of a lower end start, but he's playing me this week, so he'll probably have a good week. You probably do have to start him. Going into the Jets, I guess it's a get right game, bounce back game, maybe, possibly, finally, probably not. But you got to start all the Jets stars. You got to start Garrett, Brees, obviously Devonta. I mean, Aaron Rodgers probably isn't even the worst play. You could do worse than Aaron Rodgers. Would you rather start Aaron Rodgers or Baker Mayfield this week?
Probably, honestly, Aaron Rodgers. I feel a little bit more confident. I think Aaron Rodgers is probably a lock for 2 passing touchdowns this week, and I think one of those is going to be through the air to Brees Hall. So I think he's a lock.
All right. Well, we've said that we would start Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins now over Baker Mayfield. So we're definitely benching Baker Mayfield, I would say. But with that, let's go on to the next game. The 5-2 Green Bay Packers are going to go into Jacksonville, play the 2-5 Jaguars. The Packers are 4-point road favorites. It's some motorcycles, just loud motorcycles drive by here. I can't even think what's going on right now because they're so obnoxiously loud. But I do think the Packers have a really nice matchup with this one. The Jaguars defense has been just one to target in fantasy. I think this Packers defense has a day over under 3.5 touchdowns for Jordan Love this game. I honestly might even take the over in this one. I'll get my pick out of the way. I'm going to take the Packers. I think they have an offensive firework game. I think the Jaguars score a decent amount too. I will say the line is suspiciously low. Like, what does Vegas know that I don't know? Vegas seems to know something because you would think that this matchup would be like a 9 point line, but the Packers are only favored by 4. So that's a little bit sus to me, but I'm going to take the Packers. I think their offense just fares really well against this Jaguars defense, even in Duval.
Yeah, 100%. Jordan Love, man, he's a dog. He's a certified dog. He is a certified gunslinger. He looks like he's Brett Favre out there. It's just I'm gonna throw the rock, and I don't really care whose hand it lands in, but I'm gonna keep this game rolling. We're gonna take those deep shots, and I love it, man. I love that old style of, it's completely different from Aaron Rodgers. It goes from Brett Favre, who's just gunslinger. I don't care how many interceptions I throw, to Aaron Rodgers, who's scared to have a pick to his name, so he'll take a lot of sacks instead of throwing picks and throwing it down the field. So I love the mentality of Jordan Love. I don't care about the interceptions. I love it. I think it keeps this Packers team hot, competitive. I think it keeps these receivers going. It keeps them juiced up throughout the game because there's a big play coming any moment from that Packers offense. And I think I'll get into it. I think the Jaguars, I think it's Brian Thomas Jr. or nothing. I think their offense is pretty anemic right now. I think Doug Peterson is a game away from being fired. And maybe this is it. Maybe Jordan Love beats him by 40, and this is the game where he finally gets out of Jacksonville, and we get rid of this terrible coach. And maybe we get to see I mean, Urban Meyer was, I guess, the worst coach ever, and now it feels like it's Doug Peterson. Maybe Trevor Lawrence just isn't him. Oh, is that too early to say? Is that too bold, Dan? What do you think? I think Trevor Lawrence is fine, but I don't think he's the prospect, that Peyton Manning prospect that we all thought he was coming out of college.
Yeah, I think you asked me this a few weeks ago, and I kind of just feel the same. Like, I think he is what he is at this point. I think he's not gonna surprise us and break out and have like a Jordan Love type of season. I don't think he's gonna ever be Mac Jones either. So I just think he kind of is what he is. He's just a quarterback. He was getting those Herbert comparisons for a minute there. He's obviously not on that level at all. I don't think he really can't even reach that unless he's in a perfect situation. I mean, he is the seventh highest graded quarterback in PFF, but I mean, he just hasn't looked too impressive. Just isn't being aggressive enough, really. He just kind of is what he is. He just kind of feels like a mid quarterback to me, which, isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's probably not going to win you games. He's not going to go out of his way and just win you ball games by himself, like the Justin Herberts of the world. So, yeah, going into fantasy, you said it, Brian Thomas Jr. is a smash play. Not excited to start any of these running backs. You could start ETN. I mean, I have to in a league because I have no running back, so I kind of hate it. Obviously, Evan Ingram's a great tight end play. I don't want to start any of the other players for the Jaguars. And then for the Packers, you're targeting everyone. You're starting all your Packers, Jaden Reed, Josh Jacobs coming off a great game, Jordan Love. You're starting Romeo Dobbs. You're starting. Don't want to start Christian Watson or Dontavian Wicks just because I don't think you can predict what one of them is going to score. I will guarantee you that one of Christian Watson or Wicks is going to score, but you can't predict what one. So just start the stars in this game, and it is a fun, high-scoring game that you can target in fantasy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, both teams will kind of have that gunslinger mentality, nothing to lose. But yeah, there's clearly a better football team in this one, and it is the Packers. And like you said, it is a little sussly low of a of a line right there. Vegas always knows something, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe Vegas is completely off and we're overthinking it, and the Packers win by 40 like they should.
Yeah, it is weird. Once you see the Broncos line, you're going to be even more confused. We'll get into that here soon, but we'll go on to the next game. By the way, I do like what you said. That definitely could be Doug Peterson's last game. We'll have to monitor that because I could totally see him being ran out of town by the Packers. But going into the next game, the 5-2 Baltimore Ravens going into Cleveland to play the 1-6 Browns. Ravens are 8.5 point road favorites in this one. Don't need to talk about this game for too long. It's finally Jameis Winston time. We get some Jameis ball. Look, I'm personally starting the Ravens defense in fantasy, and I'm scared as hell about it because I know that Jameis is just going to be throwing downfield every single play. Hopefully, we get some picks and maybe a touchdown, a defensive touchdown here. But I do expect Jameis to really sling this downfield. David Njoku is going to have an incredible game. I already know if you have him with this economy and tight end fantasy. I think David Njoku has an incredible game, gets like 14 targets and just goes off. So, all that being said, I got to go the Ravens. Don't need to talk about this game for too long. No chance this 1-6 Brown team beats the Ravens. Honestly, I really love Jameis Winston. I think he's someone that a team can rally around. This Browns team has talent. If it was maybe anyone other than the Ravens, I would maybe pick them to win, but it's the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're truly playing like the best football team in the NFL right now. We saw what they just did in Tampa Bay to the Buccaneers last week. So give me this Ravens team to just keep rolling over everyone, keep rolling against the AFC North, winning this division battle. I think Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson continue their dominance, trading AFC Offensive Player of the Week honors back and forth every single other week. Crazy stuff going on with these Baltimore Ravens, the best ground game in the NFL. Give me them to beat the Browns.
2020 hindsight's a bitch because I'm kicking myself in the ass right here because Jameis Winston is playing. I should have started Cedric Tillman over Jordan Addison. I should have done it. I mean, obviously 2020, hindsight. No one would have, I really wasn't thinking that way, but I'm just the clarity of, I got to speak on this Thursday night game. It's all so clear, man. I don't know what it is with Jordan Addison, but he's a bench moving forward. Anyone who had him Thursday night in the last few weeks, I apologize. I've not said this earlier, but he deserves to ride the bench. And, I think guys like Cedric Tillman are plays over Jordan Addison. So I just got to throw that out. It's a rant sesh tonight. Got to say it. Obviously, give me the Ravens in this game. I think it'll be a beatdown. However, Jameis Winston's going to throw for 3 touchdowns somehow. He's going to put up some points. It's gonna. He's. I mean, I really don't feel like this game is going to be competitive, even with a new quarterback. I just feel like this Browns team is a little bit depleted. I do think Jameis Winston will score some points, but I think the Ravens are just going to score like 40.
Yeah, totally agree. Don't need to talk about the game too much just because it is going to be the Ravens winning this one. Even if the Browns put up some points with the YOLO ball that Jameis plays, give me the Ravens. Going into fantasy, though, I do want to have a discussion with you. Obviously, David Njoku is a smash play. Nick Chubb's kind of a scary play against this Ravens defense. You're just kind of hoping that he gets a touchdown. So you're only starting him if you're pretty desperate at running back. But the two receivers, Cedric Tillman and Jerry Jeudy, I have a few leagues where I needed receivers. So I feel like it's 50-50 on who does better between the two. I think Jerry Jeudy will be like the more intermediate guy, Cedric Tillman more downfield. Obviously, Jameis loves throwing it downfield. So like in our main league, I picked up Jerry Jeudy. In my other league, I picked up Cedric Tillman. I just kind of hedged both my bets with these two, and just I do think both will be solid options. I think both honestly are startable depending on who you have. But who would you rather start? And if you had them both and you only had one flex spot?
Well, just going off of what last week,
Yeah, yeah,
showed, I do definitely feel more confident in Cedric Tillman right now. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy is supposed to step into that Amari Cooper X role. But it just seems like the style of football that, Jameis plays and what fits these quarterbacks, even, DTR. It just feels like Cedric Tillman is that bigger body 50-50, throw it up to him type of guy. And so I am just a little bit more confident in that. And people forget about Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. I mean, he was a higher draft pick. I feel like, he just really hasn't reached his potential under this Browns, terrible, terrible regime with, Deshaun Watson the past couple of years. But I feel like Cedric Tillman, maybe he's in for a breakout now with a quarterback that can suit his style, suit his, downfield receiver, big body, 50-50 type of guy. So right now, personally, from what we saw last week, I am excited and I think I am leaning more towards Cedric Tillman.
yeah. I'm excited for Cedric Tillman as well. I think he's a great pickup right now and play. Jerry Jeudy, I'm more treating as a pickup and just kind of wait and see if maybe Jameis targets him a lot, gives him a lot of that, Amari Cooper target share. We'll see how Jameis plays. I'm excited to see how it plays out for the Ravens. You're starting. You're starting those two. players in the backfield, those top two players in fantasy football. Absolutely crazy stuff. Mark Andrews can be started, which sounds crazy at this point, but he's coming off two really good performances. He's scoring touchdowns. Zay Flowers might not play in this one. And I don't even know if Zay Flowers is a start if he does play right now, the way that this team is playing and just running the hell out of the ball. But with that being said, let's go on to the last of the morning games. The 1-5 Tennessee Titans are going to go into Detroit, play the Lions, who are 5-1. Lions are 11-point home favorites, and we can move off of this game. The Lions are going to win. The Lions are going to win. Mason Rudolph, I'm sorry. The Lions are going to win. Like, there's no analysis that needs to be had here. The Detroit Lions are going to win at home against the Tennessee Titans.
Might
Like,
be the shortest, game preview of all time. Yeah, give me Dan Campbell's Lions to just run them over with the truck. That's pretty much it. And play every single Lions weapon you can. Talking talking both running backs, we're talking every healthy receiver. I think Sam Laporta might come alive. So yeah, just start every Lion. And then on the Titans, Tony Pollard.
yep. Yep. Michael Meyer, Bloody Murder, the game of the week.
Yep. Halloween's close. This is the bloody murder game.
All right, the Michael Myers Bloody Murder Game of the Week. You heard it here first. You're starting all the Lions in fantasy with no Jameson Williams. There's going to be more of a consolidated target share. You're starting all the Lions, and then for the Titans, it's literally just Pollard. You can maybe actually Calvin Ridley's probably not going to play, so it's literally just him and maybe Tyler Boyd as a dart throw if Ridley doesn't play. Let's go on to the first of the afternoon games. A very good game here. The 5-2 Buffalo Bills are going to go into Seattle, play the 4-3 Seahawks. I'm a little bit torn on this one. The Bills are 3-point road favorites in this one. It's a really hard game to pick, honestly. The Bills are playing some pretty solid football. They got Amari Cooper back in here, as you see right there, against the Seahawks. DK Metcalf is looking like he won't go in this one, so it should be JSN and Lockett for the Seahawks. Obviously, Kenneth Walker's getting a lot of receiving work. Really hard one to pick, honestly. I don't even have too confident of a lean. I'm going to go with the Bills in this one just because I think they're a better football team. I'm not confident on it, though, because this Seahawks defense is playing better. They're at home. They always play great at home, especially defensively. Could see a little bit of a Josh Allen struggle fest, but give me the Bills to win. Amari Cooper scores a touchdown. James Cook scores a touchdown. Give me the Bills in a pretty tight game. It could be high scoring back and forth, but I'm going to go with the Bills, just kind of a gut feeling here.
Yeah, no, I think I'm going with the Bills because of the man you have on the screen right there, Amari Cooper. I think you finally get Josh Allen, an X receiver. If he was able to do what he did last week in just, a few days notice and go out there and score a touchdown, I think him and Josh Allen are going to have incredible chemistry. I feel like this was the missing piece to the Bills offense. So just very, very excited to see what this offense turns into with an elite wide receiver who's like Amari Cooper and not a toxic person like Diggs was in Buffalo. So I feel like they got the locker room right. I feel like they got their guy. They're a good football team. They're winning games. Josh Allen is Superman. He's the best quarterback in the league. He has been for a long time. What he's able to do, is just unlike any other quarterback. He is an alien. So give me Josh Allen over a really tough Seattle team. It will be close, but I am confident in our dude Josh Allen. But the Seahawks, no slouch. Mike McDonald, his defense, will give them a fit. However, whether it's through the run or whether it's through the pass, I think the Bills will figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, I honestly do think it will be a close game. For some reason, something makes me want to pick the Seahawks, but I just have to go with the Bills. I'm just more confident in Josh Allen and this talent on this team. I think the superstars will prevail here. So give me the Bills. Going into fantasy, obviously you're starting all the Bills. You're starting Amari Cooper. You could start Khalil Shakir. You could throw a dart in a deep league at Keon Coleman. You could obviously start Dalton Kincaid, James Cook, Josh Allen. You're kind of just starting all the Bills because there's so many stars on this offense. Hopefully it's not too like a 49ers Packers situation where there's just too many stars that kind of hurts your options, but you're starting them for now. For the Seahawks, obviously, if there's no DK, you're definitely starting Lockett and JSN, and you're excited about it. And then obviously Kenneth Walker, just a complete smash play, the second highest graded running back in PFF. He's really a top 5 fantasy running back. He's just playing incredible with all the receiving work he's getting. Obviously, the Seahawks offensive line's a struggle. It's kind of another reason I picked the Bills to win because I think Greg Rousseau has a day against Jarrell, whoever Jarrell is on the Seahawks, the right tackle, because their right tackles have just been a complete turnstile with no Abe Lucas. Mike Jarrell, I do expect him to have a pretty rough game coming out of Finley. So yeah, give me the Bills here, and you're starting all of them in fantasy.
100% agree. Shout out Mike Durrell for making the podcast.
Mike Drill out of Finley, just a huge game against Greg Rousseau here. I forgot his first name already. The Drell revenge game. But let's go on to the next football game. The 2-5 New Orleans Saints are going to go into LA, play the 3-3 Chargers, who are 7-point home favorites in this one. We saw the Saints last week against the Broncos. We can get this right out of the way. If Spencer Rattler is starting, which he is, they've already announced that it will be Rattler this week. The Chargers defense is going to have a field day against the Saints team. I mean, the Saints might not score over 10 points. I wouldn't really start anyone on the Saints except for, I mean, maybe it's bold, but actually, I'm not starting Kamara. I have him in one league. I'm not starting him. I'm like going out of my way to start Javonte, Najee. I'm starting a lot of people over Kamara just because I have a bad feeling he's playing with a broken hand. He's playing against this Chargers defense. There's no Derek Carr. I'm benching him this week until Derek Carr is back next week. So I'm giving him 1 week of a bench, picking the Chargers in this game. Obviously, I think this defense and the run game and just Herbert's surgical way of playing and just dicing up defenses will be too much for the Saints. Give me the Chargers probably to cover the spread at home. Don't need to talk about it too much.
Yeah, not a lot to dissect. Obviously, Chargers coming off a disappointing win. Obviously, the Saints coming off of a disappointing win. But yeah, however, I feel like, the Chargers will get back to that Harbaugh style of football this week against the Saints. Last week, they kind of gave it up against the Cardinals, but I feel like they have to reestablish that way and, be dominant. Jesse Minter is going to have his defense playing on fire against rookie Spencer Rattler. He will dial up the defense. It doesn't matter that you're down. You're starting four corners. Cam Hart and Cam Hart and I should know this is my favorite team. The corner from Maryland. Now that I
Tarheeb,
absolutely yeah, Tarheeb Steele, excuse me. Oh my God. Brain fart's getting late. Another Seekers late night podcast where Store starts mumbling. But yeah, Tarheeb Steele and Cam Hart actually playing really, really good football. Cam Hart shut down Marvin Harrison Jr. last week. So, they're down a bunch of players, but I feel like, Jesse Minter, the way he plays this defense is just surgical. It's brilliant, it's smart. And, the Chargers defense might just be the main reason they win this game. I think it's the 100% the reason. I don't feel like the offense even has to do that much. I feel like Jesse Minter will put, the offense in good hands. Field possession should be won by the Chargers, and they get back to that, that Harbaugh style of football.
yeah, definitely a nice get right game for the Chargers. The defense will come through, the running game will come through and make it a pretty easy W for them. Going into fantasy, you're starting J.K. Dobbins. Hopefully, he has a little bit of a bounce back week against this Saints team. Do I want to start any receivers? Lad McConkey. It's looking like Lad McConkey won't play, right? Or is he playing?
He has just been questionable the past couple of weeks. I believe he will actually play. He's just been a little banged up. I think, gosh, what is his status today? I'll already pull it up.
He hasn't practiced this week yet, so I'm a little bit scared because he didn't practice again today with the hip injury.
Yeah, and that was the injury from 2 weeks ago as well, for the one he got against the Broncos. Yeah, I guess maybe it got worse. Maybe he had a little bit of a flare up. Lad McConkey is somebody you should definitely monitor. If he does not play, Josh Palmer is a smash start. Quentin Johnston, if he plays, you should probably he's definitely a consideration for a start. I think Will Disley is actually a good play this week too. He was hyper targeted. I believe he had 12 targets in the last game with 8 receptions. So they dial up a lot of screens to Will Disley. Hayden Hurst is out. I can't remember if Hayden Hurst got put on IR, but I know he is out for multiple weeks with an injury. But yeah, Will Disley, if you're looking for a borderline, flex start tight end, I think, or a waiver wire tight end, I think Will Disley is worth a look because they hyper target him in the screen game.
Yeah, my guy, Will Disley, is a great deep cut tight end option, the 12th highest graded PFF tight end right now. And yeah, like you said, if Lad McConkey doesn't go, it makes Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson a lot more intriguing. If he goes, it's a little bit scary with the injury, but you could start him just because of all the targets that he should get in this matchup for the Saints. Like I said, I'm scared as hell. I'm not really starting Alvin Kamara unless you don't have any other options. If you have good options, I would go away from him. Chris Olave, if he does play, you probably need to start him, but you're not excited about that as well. You're just not excited about the Saints team with Spencer Rattler, but you get Derek Carr next week. So you're a lot more excited about all these options in 1 week.
100%. Yeah, should be an interesting game. We'll see if the Chargers charger. However, we'll see if Harbaugh has changed that way of not charging.
If the Chargers charge with this game, then we need to have a whole nother discussion about the Chargers, but I don't see that happening. Let's go on to the Seekers game of the week here. The 4-2 Chicago Bears are going to go into Washington, play the 5-2 Commanders. The Bears are 3-point road favorites in this one because it's looking like in this number one versus number two overall pick matchup, Jaden versus Caleb. It's looking like Jaden Daniels won't play in this one. He hasn't practiced this week, so that's a bad sign. It's very unfortunate. This was one of the most exciting matchups of the year. I was really excited to watch these two play against each other. Could have decided the rookie of the year, honestly. So very unfortunate. But with that being said, I mean, if Jaden Daniels plays, I'm actually going to pick the Commanders. I will say that if he somehow, gets a practice in this week and plays, I am going to pick the Commanders. I think they're a better football team right now. I think their offense is even better. But if he doesn't play, which is looking like he won't, I do think Caleb Williams goes out there and beats Mariota. The Bears offense is finally starting to click. This defense is incredible. It's smothering. Very tough defense. Mariota would have a lot of trouble against it. So give me the Caleb Bears. Give me the Bears and Caleb's just really clicking. And this offense is really clicking. Really exciting, honestly, especially for fantasy. Really exciting the way this defense, we knew this defense would be great. This team is really starting to come together. So give me the Bears in this great matchup.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. I'm definitely picking the Washington Commanders if Caleb or sorry, if Jaden Daniels plays. I feel like their offense will just be able to do enough. However, obviously last week, Mariota did dice up. He was actually really good. I mean, they were in scoring situations. I think Cliff Kingsbury's got this college style, offense running very good in the NFL right now. But yeah, I just think, if Jaden Daniels does play, I think it just gives them just the edge. However, it's going to be a close game either way. I mean, this Bears defense is a top five defense in the NFL right now. They're playing lights out. Caleb Williams just really seems to be hitting his stride too right now. He's really got that connection, in London with Keenan and DJ Moore just lighting up and Cole Kmet. So I'm really excited for that. It is like a coin flip, man. It's the more I talk about it, the more I flip sides each time. Um, it's going to be a high scoring game. I feel like these offenses both will do enough to just put up 20 plus points each. Gosh, you know, I'm just going to lock in. Either way, I'm locking in the Bears. I'm actually going to go with the Bears. I think Caleb is hitting his stride. I think the defense is good enough to contain that Commanders offense, to maybe just to right. I think if they contain them to 20 points, I think the Bears will win.
I thought you were going to lock in the Commanders either way. I was about to get intrigued there if you're going to pick Mariota no matter what. But yeah, I mean, I agree. The Bears are just playing complimentary as hell football the way this defense is playing and this offense is clicking like it could be a top offense in the league. So it's pretty scary stuff. The Bears could be a real playoff team and make a push here at the end of the season. Going into fantasy, you're really starting all these Bears options because you're really excited about the way Caleb's playing. You're starting Caleb Williams. You're starting obviously Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, and then Rome Odunze is kind of more of a dart throw. I'm kind of just benching Odunze until I see more target share for him, see better production for him. But you're starting all the other guys. For the Commanders, if it's Mariota, you're definitely starting Brian Robinson. Obviously, you can start Zach Ertz, Terry McLaurin, obviously, and I'm not starting any of the borderline options here. Probably not even Eckler. And then if it is Jane Daniels, you can start Eckler. You can start Jane Daniels. You can start really everyone because it's going to be high scoring, fun as hell. This is going to be a great matchup. Regardless, it's two really fun young teams. The Commanders' defense is even playing better. Really excited about this one.
100%. Shout out to my Commanders kicker, man. Top two fantasy kicker, baby. Let's go. Let's go. The kid's a baller. He's a must start every week.
Wow, the Seekers are the two top kickers then, Cyber and Chris Boswell. So pretty inspirational stuff here. We're just surgical with the kickers.
Austin Seibert, 14 fantasy points per game. Let's go.
Pretty
Let's
insane.
go, kid. My fantasy goat this year.
And he wasn't even their starter to start the season, right?
No. Well, actually, no, he did start. I don't know. I think who did he beat out in the no, he didn't start the season. He didn't start week one against Tampa Bay. He comes in against New York and goes 7 for 7 in
Mhm.
field goals. And yeah, didn't even start week one, and he's fantasy kicker number two. So
All right.
shout
Start
out.
Cybert, start of the week.
Start of the week, Cyber and Chris Boswell every week, two goats.
All right, the two best kickers will go on to the next game. The 1-6 Carolina Panthers are going to go into Denver, play the 4-3 Broncos, and this is what I was talking about with the Packers line. The Broncos are 10-point favorites at home. The Denver Broncos, one of the lowest scoring offenses in the league, are projected to score, beat the Panthers by 10 points. One of the largest lines in the league outside of the Lions and Titans line. Really crazy to me. Vegas is very high and confident that the Broncos win this game pretty easily. Obviously, that line went up when it was announced that Bryce Young was playing instead of Andy Dalton in this Super Bowl 50 rematch. I'll get my pick right out of the way. Give me Peyton Manning. Give me Von Miller. Give me the Broncos to beat Cam Newton's ass again. Give me the Broncos in this game. They have the Panthers number. I got to go with the Broncos to kind of whip some ass. I'm starting all the Broncos in fantasy because this is like their one match the rest of the season where I'm just confident that they win by a good amount. And I think Javonte and Sutton actually have pretty good games in this one. So give me the Broncos. Don't even really need to talk about it. They're going to whip some ass here.
Yeah, Vance Joseph's gonna have Bryce Young benched probably, third quarter. So that's a tough game for Bryce Young to come back against, top defense in the NFL. So rest in peace to all the Panthers fans. I'm sorry. Bo Nix is gonna be your nightmare face. So that's all the analysis I need to give on this. But yeah, Javonte Williams could be a really nice play this week. Just gonna
Yeah.
just gonna say that.
Definitely. Javonte's had two good games this year, and it was against the Raiders and Panthers. Two games they were favored to win, two defenses that are just abysmal on the ground. So Javonte Williams is going to have a great game. He's like my start of the week in all of fantasy. I'm going out of my way to start him over Alvin Kamara in a league. And then obviously Cortland Sutton is a dart throw. He's coming off a literal dud goose egg for you. So I mean it's a dart throw, but I do think he could score here. I think he's obviously going to be a lot better against this Panthers defense. So give me Sutton. I'm personally starting him over Demario Douglas, I believe, in our main league. Troy Franklin could even be a fun dart throw. It seems like he's kind of a 10-point floor here with the way that Bo Nix has been targeting. And Bo Nix is a fun super flex start because of the way he runs. I expect him to run all over this Panthers defense as well. I just think the run game for the Broncos is what's going to win it. Ultimately, it's really all they need. And then for the Panthers, you're just starting Chuba Hubbard, maybe Deontay Johnson. But if Surtain plays, you're a little bit more scared about that. And Johnson's hurt. But I mean, I honestly, with Bryce Young playing, do you remember how bad Deontay Johnson was at the beginning of the season? He was not even rosterable, really. So maybe I'm not starting Deontay Johnson. I really think it's just Chuba in this matchup.
I gave up on Xavier Legette, so if that tells you anything. I think this Panthers receiving core is dead, sadly. Obviously, if Andy Dalton comes back, Deontay Johnson could be a fun play, in weeks to come. But yeah, I think this Panthers team, and yeah, Chuba Hubbard was terrible too. So I mean, I think this Panthers offense is just going to go anemic, until there's another quarterback. Sadly, I love Bryce Young. I want success for him. I was a big fan of him coming out of Alabama. But yeah, I just feel like the Panthers have mismanaged him and are putting him in terrible situations and are putting him in situations to fail.
Yeah, just terrible matchup for Panthers fantasy options. I mean, it might be best for them not even to play Jonathan Brooks in this game just because of the Broncos defense. And Thielen's back this week, and we know how Bryce Young loves the hyper target Thielen. So that just muddies things in fantasy even more. But let's get off this game. Go on to the next game. The 6-0 Kansas City Chiefs are going to go into Vegas, play the 2-5 Raiders. Chiefs are 10-point road favorites in this one. And we're going to call them the Oakland Raiders. They don't deserve Vegas in their name. As long as Antonio Pierce is employed, we're calling them the Oakland Raiders. Then I'm not picking, I've said this every week, I'm not picking the Oakland Raiders to win a football game until Antonio Pierce is fired. I advocated for that man to be rehired. I am an idiot. Give me the Chiefs, obviously, the 6-0 Chiefs, which is crazy to even say because they haven't even really played like it. The Chiefs are going to win this football game. It's literally the Chiefs versus Brock Bowers and dump offs to Alexander Madison. So Gardner Minshew's terrible. Antonio Pierce is terrible. Sorry, Raiders fans, but give me the Chiefs. It's pretty obvious.
Send them back to Oakland. Send them to the city that, no sports team wants to play, and they need to
They
go back
deserve
in
it.
timeout. Yeah, they deserve it at this point. Mark Davis. The Davis family needs to sell the franchise. It needs a new look. Other than that horrifying Chucky bowl cut that gives me nightmares every time I look at him. Um, yeah, just a weird human being. Just sell the organization, restart fresh. You'll have Brock Bowers and Jackson Powers Johnson to build around, so at least you got two key offensive pieces. But yeah, the Chiefs are going to come in here and what Jack Jones did the Chiefs on Christmas last year, the Chiefs are going to do, to the Raiders on Halloween. So that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, the Raiders do always have the Chiefs numbers. They always do just steal a game for no reason against the Chiefs. But like you can't predict this horrible Raiders team the way that they're being ran to possibly do that against the 6-0 Chiefs. You just can't do it. You'd be psycho.
Oh, 100%. However, let's just get into the fantasy options. On the Raiders side of the ball, Brock Bowers is just a smash play just because he's just a generational, incredible tight end. What he did at Georgia has translated to the NFL. The dude is just so good at finding the soft spot of the zone, just so good at the position of tight end. And the fact that he fell to 13 and wasn't a top 10 pick is just a miss by the NFL. It was just overthinking with the Kyle Pitts situation. So start Brock Bowers, trade for Brock Bowers. He's tight end #1 in fantasy. And then Alexander Madison, I think, is a must start. He's just you know a lock for 12 plus fantasy points. He will just find his way to get a few, you know, good runs and just find his way possibly into the end zone. And then, on the Chiefs side of the things, Kareem Hunt, who Dan picked up and off of waiver wires a few weeks ago, has turned into a league winner. As long as Pacheco's not back, Kareem Hunt is a lock for a touchdown. And then obviously Travis Kelce. And then any of the Chiefs receivers you're really feeling, comfortable in?
I was just going to ask you, are you starting DeAndre Hopkins? It feels like an Amari Cooper game where he might not have the most productive game, but it could fall into the end zone. I would almost bet the over on him scoring, but
I don't know how high I am on DeAndre Hopkins, this year. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's rejuvenated. He's with Patrick Mahomes. He is, that kind of, you know, PPR merchant he can be. He's got great hands. He's just been in that anemic Titans offense that where receivers go to die. So maybe this is a rejuvenation for his career at his, 30-year-old age. But yeah, I mean, maybe his first game with the Chiefs, yeah, he might be a good play just because you can just see that touchdown coming.
you can just see. I don't know if you know stores, but Andy Reid actually has a thing, a special rabies that he injects into all of his players. He injected into obviously Juju, Kareem Hunt, Uncle Travis Kelce. He injects rabies into these guys where they just don't age. They play better when they're old and they shouldn't be playing good. They somehow play good. And it does just feel like DeAndre Hopkins scores a touchdown. So I mean, at least take his over, bet on him to score a touchdown. I did that with Amari Cooper and Nick Chubb last week. It worked out. I can just see it, especially against this Raiders team. It's just so terrible. Anyone can't score on the Raiders. Obviously, you're firing up Kareem Hunt and you're not starting Patrick Mahomes ever. He's probably just a release. He's a drop candidate. And Travis Kelce can be started. And then, yeah, you said it good for the Raiders. Shout out to Brock Bowers, the #1 graded PFF tight end, which is incredible. He's literally the only bright spot outside of Max Crosby for this team. Anything else you want to say?
No, let's move on to the next one. Should be another bloody murder game of the week.
Yeah, we'll go with our, since it's almost Halloween, our honorable Michael Myers bloody murder game of the week here for the Raiders. But let's go on to the Sunday night football game. The Dallas Cowboys, who are 3-3, are gonna go into San Fran, play the 3-4 49ers, which sounds pretty crazy. A little bit of a struggle fest with all the injuries going on. The Niners are still 4-point favorites in this one. They are so injury ridden. Obviously, Ayuk out for season. Debo, Kittle are both kind of banged up. It looks like they'll both go, which is really big. And I'll get my pick right out of the way because of that. With Debo and Kittle both going, I am going to pick the 49ers to win. I just can't really pick the Cowboys. Like I would like to pick against the Niners with all these injuries, but the Cowboys are just not, they haven't earned that. They haven't earned me picking them over a great 49ers team that plays great at home, great in prime time with Kyle Shanahan, obviously the best coach in the league up there with McVay. I just can't pick Mike McCarthy's Cowboys to go into San Fran and win. Don't love what I'm seeing. The vibes with Dak and CeeDee, their connection is just not there. They have like weird body language. Not liking it with the Cowboys. So give me the 49ers in this one, despite the injuries. I think Jordan Mason has a huge game. Take his over 4 touchdowns. I think he scores a touchdown in this one. And I'm going to go with the injury-ridden 49ers.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I don't have any confidence, at this point of the season in the Cowboys. I don't know. I think Mike McCarthy is honestly should be up there with Doug Peterson for, I think we need a new face in Dallas. I think it's time to move on from McCarthy. I think it's time to start fresh. Feel like last year, Dan Quinn kind of carried, that defense, and he was, probably should have been the one promoted to head coach, and should have probably fired McCarthy last year. But yeah, I'm going to go with the injury riddled 49ers. I just think they're better coached through Kyle Shanahan. I think they're a better football team even being injured. And with the Cowboys, I feel like it's just pretty anemic. You're just banking on CD just to do something crazy, and I feel like teams know that, and I feel like he can't be that game changer this year that he was last year.
Absolutely. And going into fantasy, if Debo plays, you can start him. If he doesn't, then you're firing up. I mean, actually, I don't even think Jawan Jennings is playing, so that kind of makes it very muddy. Obviously, if Debo and Jawan Jennings both don't play, you can start Pearsall. If Debo plays, I'm really only starting Debo Samuel, though. Pearsall is more of just a stash for me. Jawan Jennings is a great play. If he does play rest of season, he's my number one waiver priority because of no Ayuk. George Kittle, obviously the number two tight end, and fantasy the number two tight end and PFF's ratings. George Kittle just having an incredible season. I think Brock Purdy's a pretty good play as well. I think he's going to throw some touchdowns, and then Jordan Mason. I think he's going to have a huge week. I think he's a lock to score a touchdown. I just think with all these injuries, they're going to have to really ride with Jordan Mason. I think they're going to kind of go through Jordan Mason in this one. And for the Cowboys, it's CD. Rico Dowdle's a flex dart throw. I mean, not exciting at all, but if you need like 10 points max, that's probably what it's going to get you. Dak Prescott isn't a terrible start in this matchup. He will have to throw the ball. And I think that's it. I don't think that I'm starting Jalen Tolbert in this one. I think it's just Jake Ferguson, CD, and maybe Dowdle.
Yeah, I'm 100% agreeing with you on all that. I think Jake Ferguson, I think he's going to start really heating up in fantasy. I think he could be a really, really good play. I think he's going to finish as the top, five tight end in fantasy. The offense is going to be so hyper focused on CD, and I think it's just going to open up a lot of opportunity for Jake Ferguson. So moving forward, Jake Ferguson, super, super excited.
Yeah, love Jake Ferguson. Go trade for him if you can. I put my money where my mouth is. I made a big trade to get Jake Ferguson. I needed to bring him in. I had Sam Laporta. I had to get off of him. So really excited for Jake Ferguson. I just looked. It looks like Deron Bland won't be returning. He didn't practice today. So I was excited for a Deron Bland return. Looks like we won't get that on Sunday Night Football, though. Going into the last game of the week, the New York Giants, who are 2-5, are going to go into Pittsburgh, play the 5-2 Steelers, who are 6.5-point home favorites in this one. Giants defense is playing some really solid football. They're definitely keeping this team in games. Sexy Dexy's playing literally like the defensive player of the year. I think the defensive player of the year is down to Sexy Dexy and Patrick Surtain right now, which is pretty awesome. Really fun, two fun players. But with all that being said, with how the Giants defense is playing, I think the Steelers defense is going to have an incredible game against Daniel Jones. I think they're going to kind of have his number here. Why do the Steelers always have home primetime games? They have a home primetime game every single week. It's kind of crazy, but give me the Steelers. Russell Wilson played some really nice football last week. He kind of settled in after starting off pretty rough and really settled in, played some surgical football, threw it downfield nicely, got everyone involved. So give me the Steelers here to win pretty easily just because I don't think Daniel Jones does much and just kind of a bad matchup. The Steelers should be able to run even against Sexy Dexy, and I think they should win pretty easily again.
Yeah, I just don't feel like this is a very good matchup for the Giants. I feel like the Steelers just really will take advantage of all the things the Giants are bad at. And, look for the Steelers, defensive line to absolutely just give Daniel Jones a headache and absolutely demolish, the Giants run game. So, I mean, if you're the Giants, you're just hoping Malik Neighbors can just do some miracle and pop open or break a slant for 80 yards. But other than that, I feel like this offense is just in for a rough day. This is a hard-nosed, headed Mike Tomlin team that's just going to punch you in the mouth, and the Giants just aren't built for that. They're not built for heavyweight fights like the Steelers are. And the Steelers they're just going to wear you and wear you out, and they're gonna knock you out, come that third, fourth quarter.
I love what you said about the Giants offensive line as well. I had the Giants Eagles game on my multi-view last week, and it was rough. I was playing against Malik Neighbors. That's the only reason I had that game on there. And every single time in the corner of my eye, I saw the Giants on offense. Daniel Jones got sacked. Again, that was against the Eagles. I mean, against TJ Watt, Highsmith, Hayward, Ben Ogunjobi. It's going to be scary hours. I mean, it's bad with no Andrew Thomas, with Josh Zoedu out there at left tackle. I mean, it's bad. Daniel Jones was getting sacked every single play. Last week, I think in this primetime game, he might get injured. That's how bad all of these pass rushers are just going to completely murder this offense. So I think that's really thing that makes me very confident that the Steelers win it, honestly, is that pass rush versus that pass blocking.
Yeah, 8 sacks that the Philadelphia Eagles got on Daniel Jones. It was I played against the Eagles defense in fantasy, and trust me, I saw the points racking up every single sack. So it was ridiculous. 3 points allowed. I mean, the Giants only could score 3 points against a really not very good Eagles secondary. And so yeah, it's I bold prediction the Steelers might get 10 sacks in this game.
Wouldn't put it past them at all. I think that's a pretty good line, honestly. I might even take the over on that. This is another Michael Myers bloody murder game of the week. We'll go with the theme for Halloween. I honestly think this is a blowout. I think it could be worse than that Eagles game. I mean, the Steelers just match up too well against this Giants team. Russ should have a very easy matchup here. He should have a day. Going into fantasy, you're not starting any of the Giants running backs. I love me some Tracy, but you just don't want to start him in a timeshare in this backfield with one of the worst offenses, if not the worst offense in the league. Obviously, you're starting Neighbors. He didn't have the best week last week. You're just hoping that he gets hyper targeted. Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm not really looking to start. He's more of just a bench, and then you can start him if you're desperate in a 12-team deep league. For the Steelers, though, Russell Wilson makes this offense a lot better in fantasy. He makes all these fantasy options a lot more intriguing because Justin Fields just takes all of the rushing yards from Najee. He doesn't look to throw it up to George Pickens. So George Pickens and Najee are just so much better with Russell Wilson playing. So I'm starting both of them. They're smash plays. Pat Freiermuth, I'm not really looking to start. Russ doesn't throw to tight ends too often. So he's more of just a completely deep dart throw. But I think those two options are just big smash plays, maybe even Jalen Warren, because Russ loves those dump downs. He loves to dump it down. So Jalen Warren could be a start too.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. George Pickens is going to be just an exciting fantasy prospect with Russ, just with that deep ball. He's going to hyper target him. There's not much other, receiving threats on this team. So, if George Pickens is still a buy low candidate in your league, go out and get him. He should be well worth his value with Russ. A lot of people might be trying to sell high on him, thinking, do a quick little sell high on him after that last week. But I think we're here to see a big step up in George Pickens' game. So just want to shout him out. And hopefully for Giants fans, you get a big Malik Neighbors touchdown. So it soothes your soul a little bit from the beat down that's about to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like Brock Bowers vibes with the Raiders. He's the only bright spot for you. You got Malik Neighbors, at least for the Giants moving forward for your future quarterback, because obviously we all knew Daniel Jones ain't it. But really fun episode talking about these week 8 games, some really good matchups. Excited to see who comes out on top. We got the even crazy. We're 8 weeks in and we have a completely even record with our picks. So it's going to be really fun to see who wins picks in week 8. Stay tuned for next week. Anything else you want to say?
Putting me on the spot, Dan. What do I want to say?
Any spooky
Okay.
hot takes?
I think after this Thursday night game, the refs will start. I think a hot take for the entire NFL. I think we're going to be start reviewing penalties because it's gotten so bad. That's a hot take. I think by next year we'll see reviews on penalties. So kind of a random one, but I think we need it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a big change, a big rule change this offseason at the very least. I could see some more stinkers from these refs in the coming weeks. So stay tuned to the NFL Sneakers podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.